This is a story of how a broke 25-year-old Sarah accidentally swapped bodies with a billionaire, and it nearly destroyed both their lives forever. Sarah's hands trembled as she stared at her reflection, except the face looking back wasn't hers. Sharp jawline, piercing gray eyes, perfectly styled dark hair. This was Marvin Cross, the billionaire CEO whose face graced magazine covers worldwide. She touched the mirror, her breath fogging the glass as panic clawed at her chest. 24 hours ago, she'd been counting quarters for ramen noodles. Now she was trapped in a penthouse that cost more than her entire neighborhood. If you're already hooked by this insane story, smash that subscribe button because this gets absolutely wild, and you won't believe what happens next. The mysterious app had appeared on her cracked phone screen at 3 a.m., downloading itself without permission. Soul Swap, it called itself. Sarah had laughed, thinking it was some dating app glitch. She'd swiped right on Marvin's profile as a joke, muttering, "In my dreams," before everything went white. Now, standing in his marble bathroom wearing silk pajamas that cost more than her rent, she realized this was no dream. This was a nightmare. Her new phone buzzed. A video call from herself, from her own body. Sarah's heart hammered against Marvin's ribcage as she answered. "What the hell have you done?" Marvin's voice came through, but it was her own face speaking, her own mouth moving with his controlled fury. "I didn't do anything." Sarah shot back, her voice now his deep baritone. "This app just appeared an app?" Marvin's eyes narrowed from her phone screen. "I don't use apps like that. I don't have time for games." Sarah's stomach dropped. "Then how did this happen?" "I don't know, but you need to figure it out. I have a board meeting in 3 hours that could make or break a $40 billion merger. Do you have any idea what's at stake?" The call ended abruptly, leaving Sarah alone with the weight of an empire on her shoulders. She scrolled through Marvin's calendar, each appointment worth more money than she'd see in 10 lifetimes. Her hands shook as she realized she was about to destroy everything this man had built. 3 hours later, Sarah sat in a boardroom surrounded by sharks in expensive suits. Every eye was on her, waiting for Marvin Cross to speak about the merger that would reshape the tech industry. Sarah cleared her throat, her voice catching. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, then stopped. Her mind went blank. These people expected brilliance, strategy, the financial genius that had built Cross Industries from nothing. Instead, they got a waitress who'd never balanced a checkbook. "Mr. Cross?" The head of acquisitions leaned forward, concern flickering across his features. "Are you feeling all right?" Sarah's pulse quickened. She could feel sweat beading on Marvin's forehead. I think we should postpone this meeting." The room erupted in whispers. Postponing meant losing the deal to their competitors. $40 billion would disappear because she couldn't pretend to be someone she wasn't. That evening, Marvin called back, his fury radiating through her phone screen. "You cost me everything today," he said, his voice dangerously quiet. "Do you understand that?" "I'm sorry," Sarah whispered, genuine anguish in her voice. "I tried, but I don't know how to be you." "Well, you better learn fast, because I'm not exactly thriving in your world either." The camera panned to show her tiny apartment, which somehow looked even smaller with his presence in it. "I attempted to go to your job today. Your manager fired me within 2 hours." "What? Why?" "Apparently, I'm too demanding and don't understand the service industry." I told him his inventory system was inefficient and suggested a digital overhaul. He said I was being pretentious. Despite everything, Sarah laughed. The sound was strange coming from Marvin's throat. "You tried to corporate your way through a diner job?" "This isn't funny," Marvin snapped, but she caught something else in his expression. Confusion, maybe even vulnerability. "Sarah, I don't know how to be ordinary. Everything here is so." He gestured around her apartment. "Simple. But your neighbors keep bringing me food and asking if I'm okay. Strangers are being kind to me, and I don't understand why." Something shifted in Sarah's chest. Behind his anger, she heard loneliness so deep it made her own struggles seem manageable. Because that's what people do when they care about each other. But they don't know me. They don't know what I can do for them. That's exactly why they care. Like this video if you're Team Sarah, comment if you're Team Marvin, because this love story is about to get so much more complicated. Over the next few days, they developed a routine. Sarah would call Marvin every morning, and he'd coach her through the business world while she guided him through normal human interaction. She watched him grocery shop for the first time, marveling at price tags like archaeological discoveries. He watched her navigate board meetings with a combination of horror and admiration as she brought creative solutions to problems his rigid thinking couldn't solve. "You suggested giving employees stock options," Marvin said during one of their evening calls. "That's actually brilliant. I never would have thought of that." "Because you see employees as expenses," Sarah replied, settling into his massive couch. "I see them as people who deserve to share in what they help build." The board loved it. Stock prices went up 12% today. Sarah felt a strange pride in Marvin's voice. They were becoming a team, each filling gaps in the other's knowledge. But as the days passed, she noticed something troubling. Marvin seemed less eager to discuss switching back. On day 5, everything changed. Sarah was reviewing contracts when Marvin's assistant knocked urgently on his office door. "Mr. Cross, there's been an incident. Your father is here." An older man strode in, his presence commanding and cold. He had Marvin's eyes but none of his hidden warmth. "Son, I hear you've been making some interesting decisions lately." "Father." Sarah's blood turned to ice. She'd heard Marvin mention his father exactly once, calling him a corporate vampire who mistake money for blood. Giving away stock options? Prioritizing employee welfare over profit margins? This isn't the son I raised. His eyes narrowed as he studied Sarah carefully. "You're acting different. Softer. Weak. Maybe I'm just growing as a person," Sarah managed, trying to channel Marvin's confidence. "Growth?" His father laughed, the sound sharp and cutting. "Boy, I didn't build this empire so you could play humanitarian. I have half a mind to invoke the clause." "What clause?" "The one that says if you're deemed mentally unfit to run the company, control transfers to me." He leaned forward, his smile predatory. "Keep playing house with the working class, and I'll have you declared incompetent. Then you'll have nothing." After he left, Sarah called Marvin with shaking hands. "Your father just threatened to take away your company." "What?" Marvin's face went pale on screen. "What did he say exactly?" Sarah repeated the conversation, watching Marvin's expression grow darker with each word. "Marvin, I'm so sorry. I never meant to put your life at risk." "It's not your fault," he said quietly, but she could see the wheels turning behind his eyes. "My father's been looking for an excuse to push me out for years. He never approved of any decision that put people over profit. So what do we do?" Marvin was quiet for a long moment. Too quiet. Maybe we need to switch back. Soon." Something in his tone made Sarah's heart clench. "You don't sound like you want to. Want doesn't matter anymore." His voice was flat, resigned. "I can't lose everything because of a magical app and wishful thinking." "Wishful thinking?" The words hit Sarah like a slap. "Is that what this has been to you?" "Sarah, don't make this harder than it already is." "Make what harder?" "Being honest about what's happening between us." Marvin looked away from the camera. "Nothing's happening between us. We're two people trapped in an impossible situation, trying to make the best of it." The lie hung between them like a blade. Sarah felt tears, Marvin's tears, burning behind his eyes. "Fine," she whispered. "If that's what you really think." She ended the call and threw the phone across the room, watching it crack against the marble wall. The sound echoed through the empty penthouse like her breaking heart. But Sarah didn't know that Marvin had lied. She didn't know he was falling apart in her tiny apartment, clutching a throw pillow that smelled like her favorite lavender detergent. She didn't know he'd been practicing saying, "I love you," to her mirror for 3 days. And she definitely didn't know about the second phone call he'd received after theirs ended. "Hello, Marvin." His father's voice dripped through the phone like poison. "I hope you enjoyed your conversation with whoever's been pretending to be you." "What are you talking about?" "I've had you under surveillance, boy. I know you haven't been yourself lately. Literally. I don't know how you've managed this little body swap charade, but it ends now." Marvin's blood turned to ice. "You can't prove anything." "Can't I? I have footage of you acting completely unlike yourself, making decisions you'd never make, showing kindness you've never possessed. Either you're having a complete mental breakdown, which gives me grounds to take the company, or something else entirely is happening." His father's chuckle was cruel. "Here's what's going to happen. You'll switch back to your real body immediately, return to being the son I raised, and never contact that girl again. Or I'll destroy both of you. You can't. Watch me. I'll bankrupt her family, destroy her credit, make sure she never works again. And you? I'll have you committed to a private facility where you can think about the consequences of crossing me. Choose wisely. If you're on the edge of your seat, drop a comment below with your predictions because this ending will shock you." The next morning, Sarah opened Marvin's eyes to find the app back on his phone. A message waited, "Return window now open. Make your choice." 2 buttons appeared, "Return to original body," and "Stay forever." Sarah stared at the screen, her finger hovering over the return button. Every rational thought screamed at her to go back to her simple life, to escape before Marvin's world crushed her completely. But her heart whispered something else entirely. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, "Meet me at Central Park. The bench where we had our first real conversation. Please. M." When Sarah arrived, she found Marvin waiting in her body, his shoulders shaking with quiet sobs. He looked up as she approached, and the pain in her eyes was devastating. "He threatened you," Marvin said without preamble. "My father. He knows about us somehow, and he's going to destroy your life if I don't end this." Sarah sat beside him, her heart breaking. "So this is goodbye? I can't let him hurt you. You have a life worth protecting, people who love you for who you are. I have money and power and nothing else." "That's not true. Isn't it?" Marvin looked at her with such profound sadness that Sarah felt her soul crack. "You've seen my life, Sarah. It's beautiful and empty and cold. You deserve so much more than that. What if I want to choose for myself what I deserve?" Before Marvin could answer, Sarah leaned forward and kissed him. It was strange, kissing herself, but the love behind it was real and desperate and everything they'd been too afraid to say. When they broke apart, both of them were crying. "I love you," Sarah whispered. "Not your money, not your power. You. The man who learned to grocery shop and made friends with my neighbors and figured out how to laugh again." "I love you too," Marvin replied, his voice breaking. "But love isn't enough to protect you from my world." Sarah pulled out her phone and opened the app. Without hesitation, she pressed "Stay forever." "Sarah, no." Marvin lunged for the phone, but it was too late. "If we're going to face your father, we're going to do it together," Sarah said firmly. "In our real bodies, with our real feelings, as partners." Marvin stared at her, then slowly smiled through his tears. He pressed the same button on his phone. The world flashed white. When Sarah opened her eyes, she was herself again, sitting on the park bench in her own body. Marvin sat beside her, solid and real and perfectly himself. Without thinking, they reached for each other, their hands interlocking like puzzle pieces finding their match. "So," Sarah said, her voice barely steady. "Ready to change the world?" Marvin squeezed her hand. "With you? I'm ready for anything." 6 months later, Sarah Cross stood before a crowd of reporters, her engagement ring catching the camera lights. Beside her, Marvin smiled as she announced their foundation's newest initiative, providing microloans and business education to struggling families worldwide. Some people think love is about finding someone who complements your existing life, Sarah said, looking directly into Marvin's eyes. But real love is about building something entirely new together. The questions from reporters faded into background noise as Marvin leaned close to whisper in her ear, "My father dropped the lawsuit yesterday. Apparently, our stock prices have never been higher, and even he can't argue with success." Sarah grinned. "Think he'll ever admit we were right?" "Probably not. But I don't care what he thinks anymore." Marvin's hand found hers again, their fingers intertwining with practiced ease. "I only care what you think." "I think," Sarah said, standing on her tiptoes to kiss him, "we're just getting started." The app had vanished from both their phones the moment they'd chosen each other over everything else. But sometimes, late at night, Sarah wondered if it had been magic at all, or simply the universe's way of showing two lost souls exactly what they'd been searching for all along. If this story gave you all the feels, show some love with a like and subscribe for more billionaire romance stories that will make you believe in true love again. And tell us in the comments, would you risk everything for love like Sarah did?